Hey, welcome everyone. We've got a great and a kind of a different set of interviews today for GoHire Talks. I want to introduce Mike and Naidu from Ciphus, and they are a HR tech vendor, and we'll get into the details. And they build HRIS and payroll systems and things like that. But I wanted to have a talk with them, and Naidu's a friend from AI Collective organization we're both a member of, and talk about the buying process of HR tech, talk about installs, talk about all of those things that you wish you could ask somebody on the other side and get an honest feedback from the salesperson, from the founder, and get some of their advice that they've seen when installing software. Mike and Naidu have both been in the industry for a long time, architects and sales guys. So welcome to the show, guys. Give me a quick intro about each one of you guys.
Naidu, why don't you start off?
Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan. My name is Naidu Bollineni. I'm a co-founder, CTO at Ciphus, Silicon Valley. I have had an opportunity really all the way from the hardware, software, and cloud operations, and security compliance, and data privacy, governance, and pretty much all these areas. And the way, as we have seen several times, how the platforms have been built and delivered, I would compare typically like a half-built car delivered and expecting the customer to build the rest of it, spending maybe 3 times of that car, and eventually making use of it after 6 months or so, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to flip that story on its head and say, we want to deliver a technology platform that fits to the customer's needs as opposed to force fitting the customer into the platform's behavior.
Great.
And our co-founder, CEO, Kavita, her prior experience adds a lot of this, particularly in the HR tech, because she actually had a first-hand experience in a PE-based firm coordinating a half a dozen different so-called mature tools in the industry that includes the HR, finance, and operations, ERP tools, and bringing them to really make it usable and productive for a company of about 2,000 people, taking maybe a few $1 million and about close to a year making them, right?
Yeah.
That's why I said half big car sold, expecting the customer to kind of finish it and take it to the road, right?
Yeah.
Now, as we built the foundation and then started composing the applications on top of the foundation, the platform, right? And that's how rapidly we were able to build several different applications: HR, payroll, ticketing system, project management, and attendance, leave applications, you name it. Particularly when it comes to the HR, the whole employee life cycle 360-degree view, right?
Yeah.
Role-based access, there's a HR admin, recruitment, you name it. They all can be composed, customized to the specific customer needs without having a really, really costly professional technologist who can help you do that. And that's how we're actually innovating, and it's reflecting in the current customer base. And we are hearing our strengths, comparing with the big platforms. And of course, we want to get there, but we're making measurable steps towards that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And how about you, Mike?
Similar to Naidu, long-time career in technology. I did move away from the coding when I'd had enough of COBOL, back in the day. Moved from big systems to really building companies in the Seattle area. So I've built several in the HR space. So I started off with leading sales and marketing at Ascentis, which became a HR payroll platform. Then PayScale, sort of compensation. I was the first sales and marketing leader there. TalentSpring, which also became a big platform around recruiting. And then it was an innovative platform for hiring. So finding the right people and whatnot. So the thing I like about Ciphus is that all of this, the people out there that are interested in how they get to provide the benefits of AI for their employees so they can ask any questions of the systems of records that they have, Ciphus really helps you do that. And it helps you do that rapidly. So you can think of us being a AI native rapid application platforms for organizations that really have outgrown the generic SaaS solutions. Probably with SaaS solutions, we probably have a solution for applicant management, for HRIS, for benefits management, for time and attendance, all of that stuff. Our platform allows you to compose those applications from proven features. But we also provide the guardrails for an organization around governance, compliance, role-based security, and all of those other things. When we delivered a solution recently for an airport in the Cook Islands, which required 6 different HR applications, and we delivered that in 6 weeks from start to finish, including payroll. But now they have an agentic platform that the employees can now interact with. Adding features, changing things, then becomes really a matter of hours or days to develop those new features rather than waiting for your SaaS vendor to provide those feature updates for you. You can do it yourself. So instead of forcing you into a one size fits all, we let you pick the features you want and you compose the applications visually within the platform. So you get
Wow. So it sounds like for the non-tech, folks on here that are somewhat techy because they still have a Workday or Oracle Cloud implementation in the enterprise, or maybe split with a Paylocity if you're in the small, and ADP creating a stack of TA and HR. You guys, newer into the market, but predominantly in that 300 to 3,000 employee space where you don't need all of the bells and whistles and a full ERP platform that's connected to manufacturing and purchasing as well, but you need those core HR platforms. But you're also leveraging AI in a new way that makes it easier to build on top of and customize. Does that sound about right?
That's right, Jonathan, to a certain degree, but then think about expanding to other application areas like asset management, or, we delivered a full supply chain solution for an organization the other day. It took us, again, about 6 weeks, but now they have 4 levels deep of supply insights that they didn't have before. So from the very small component pieces to the components put onto larger components into the actual finished product. So the application expands, and because it's all one platform, then you have the benefit of being able to ask questions, business questions across those different data sources that the system considers as part of your answers. So different groups, different leaders can get answers that they want across all those systems.
Yeah.
So how did you guys get into, what was the deciding point to build Ciphus versus, just kind of going back and starting another job at another HR tech and might, joining Ciphus, since you've got a pretty good storied track record of HR tech behind you?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I mean, we could be vibe coding away. The problem with that is that it doesn't sort of have all the guardrails, I guess. So when you look at Naidu's and Kavitha's background, they come from the enterprise. They understand all of those problems that often aren't considered. I built applications myself using some of these vibe coding solutions, but they don't have the wrappers that you need to ensure that the people get all the information they have access to based on their role, but no more, sort of thing. So there's no leaks in security and all that stuff. So I felt that for me, it's a really interesting, complete solution that offers a chance for organizations to break away from the problem of all of these the SaaS sprawl, of applications. It's really hard to integrate everything. And I see that as a leader of sales and marketing. In my last company, I moved from one CRM to another, and that cost $30,000-$40,000 just to get started. Whereas you could be implementing those solutions across multiple different capabilities with our platform.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Naidu. Sorry.
Jonathan, I would add a couple of other points. Obviously, experience also comes a lot. and adds to this, right? So Kavita previously worked in a platform on top of Salesforce. Salesforce is pretty much known everywhere. And again, because they started journey a couple of decades back and their limitations of the platform itself imposes a lot of constraints and how you deal with it. And having learned from that and see how else you can actually unblock yourself from the shackles, right? That was one of the key thoughts in building this foundation. The second one is her experience, as I mentioned in a prior company, connecting these so-called mature tools still took such a long, painful.
Integrations.
Right. Now, these things reflect into and say, hey, having these things, how can you actually tell a different story and build something that actually does things different? Now, we all started with this whole agentic generation, and that was an opportunity for us to tune the platform to be having the predictable delivery of enterprise value while you are bringing the agentic features and the capabilities to the platform. That's how Ciphus has evolved.
And so now that what's a ideal sales process from the vendor side and the client side in both of your experience, not so much about Ciphus, but what works? Like, what's the best implementation? Like, if you had the ideal customer that came in and said, Mike and Naidu, okay, this is it. Like, what would be the ideal customer? And I want to backfill that, about use this as an education standpoint for someone as a CHRO about understanding how a project is built. The reason I'm asking it, what's the ideal customer, their mindset is when they've come to you, because I have some, having done this for 30 years, longer than that, actually, I kind of already know that, but I want to hear from you guys. What have you seen is the best implementation? Like, how do you get the best implementation versus how do you get that half-baked car that then you have to integrate to everything else?
I mean, one of the things that we've seen is that people have bought multiple SaaS solutions, and there's problems on all the edges of these solutions. The integration becomes a problem. There may be a feature area they don't have an application for today, but they want to have that feature area. So what we've seen work best organizations is those that have a high business impact area that they really want to improve on. So maybe this is 3 or 4 applications, maybe it's time management, maybe it's project management, maybe it's time, project, and asset management, plus the core HRMS. And they want to reinvent that set of capabilities and maybe improve some sort of areas. So those people have come to us now. We've done this in several times where we've replaced 6 core functional applications with a modern AI platform that delivers the features that they had before, but more business process automation for them. But specifically the features they want. It's like we used to talk about Word, right? What percentage of Word do you use on a daily basis? Like 10% or something like that. It's similar with enterprise applications. There's just too many features there that get in the way of efficient onboarding, people understanding where to go to get things. All of those things can be replaced with the ideal solution for you.
I think that's really interesting the way you say it. And I want to iterate this same point a couple different ways, talk about a couple different ways, because if I wrote an article called I don't remember the title now, but it's along these lines. You can't implement AI like it's Workday.
Right.
Because the CIO has bought, now we hear, all the token expenses and everything else, but they're buying this tool that they're saying, hey, I bought it now, HR and workforce go use it. Like, it's not like Workday. Workday comes with structures. It comes with a database set. It comes with rules. And unfortunately, a lot of those rules good and bad, are very rigid for how it's supposed to work. But how it's supposed to work does not fit 100% of their clients. In fact, it doesn't fit any one of their clients. It fits 1,000 companies partially or 20,000 companies partially, and everyone's jammed into this set of rules. And if you have to go outside those rules, you have to go to a third party or start spending a load of money to customize something.
Yeah, when a manager might want to know just what was my variance on my payroll last month. It was 18% up. Well, tell me more about what that is. Well, you had too much overtime. There was these bonuses versus another manager who might be looking at some IT asset problem or the supply chain information, which combines both employee information and operational information together.
Yeah, I think you have hit nail on the head, right? So when ICP comes and say, hey, I have this great tool, I still have this pain, and I'm paying a ton of money. We can say, yes, you don't have to throw away your existing license and whatever life that is left. If we can connect to it, we'll solve your most acute problem, right? In a few weeks, or maybe even soon. And then you can imagine how you want to take your journey forward from here. You want to continue having both of them living together while your problem is solved, or gradually migrate some of these workflows onto the new platform so that eventually you can actually offload that old legacy tool that's heavy burden on your wallet as well as your processes, rigidity, all those things.
Yeah, the way we're trained right now, Jonathan, is that there's always another platform we can buy to solve a set of issues. So rather than buying another platform, get something that can essentially give them the operational intelligence they need. Finance understanding cost movement. HR can see headcount and overtime patterns. Operations can identify exceptions. Executives can ask follow-up questions without waiting for a new report to be developed or anything like that. That's what you can take a look at now with these new breed of applications like Ciphus to imagine your systems that you have within your organization.
So this is a really great conversation because this is that kind of a new breed of technology that I'm sure the CIO knows about in many of these companies, but the president probably doesn't. The CEO doesn't. They're not reading. They're not in the code and understanding this stuff. And certainly CHRO is not understanding this in many cases. And that is, we have the legacy system that is a database that has these rules. And now, 3 years ago, I think, we learned that we have this generative insights ability by looking at data because it's smarter and can come up with info. So you can put this generative layer on top of these tools and build rules on them. So now we have what we call this agentic layer that can do automation and give you insights. Some of your vendors are already providing those, maybe not to your limits, to the things you need. And so you may not need the size of their database and their rules. So Ciphus, if I've got this right, what you guys can do is you come as this new, we say agentic layer, meaning a bunch of automations as well as the database and insights. You can hook up to the existing legacy system. You can then provide additional features on top of it. And you can do those more customized because everything's a lot more agile than it used to be. And yeah, agile is a technical term, but it's a lot more flexible that you can do custom stuff on top of the data and get outside of the rules and the limitations that were in the original ERP that you bought. That's maybe 20 years old was the last time and had a foundational change. Am I getting that right? Does that kind of make sense?
Well, there's a couple of other things I think I'd add into that. Your employees are taking the data out of your systems and sharing it with the world by interacting with the ChatGPTs and the Claudes and whatnot. Whereas what you really want to do is set up a system that enables them to get the same benefits, asking those business questions of the data, but not sharing it with the world. So
Mhm.
we set that up for organizations. They can interact with their data in a secure manner, getting the benefits of AI, AI trained on your data, but not sharing with the rest of the world. And the employees getting the benefit of that.
And getting instead of getting real-time data rather than updating old reports, old
Correct.
Excel spreadsheets that then get lost, put on a server that gets broken into, and now your sales reports are sitting in ChatGPT in a public and training the data in ChatGPT on your recent sales reports.
So you think of, I mean, we have the flexibility of using those solutions if that's what you'd like to use, but we also have this concept of sovereignty where you can choose where to put your AI solutions, whether you want an open source model or a private model of some description. So you have the ability to decide on each of those for your implementation. You can even run the application in-house if necessary, but these are the things you can do nowadays.
So let me ask you one other question. So the typical, and I know you kind of walk in, ask a client, and then you just go in and get their data. So you could do a lot of things, but are there industries, sizes of companies, or existing software tools that you already have specialties in that specifically someone comes in and says, "Hey, I'm on Workday and we're just too small. We're not implementing the rest of the Workday stuff. We are on payroll. Maybe we have ADP for payroll, HMS or HRIS is Workday and some other things in their recruiting functions, but we need to do something else." Do you have a thread of those that you've been consistently finding customers when they call and they're in that market? Like it's a kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that we do. Often it's with organizations that have workers that are clocking in, clocking out. That
Okay.
adds a lot of complexity to the solution. Organizations that have just one or two modules of Sage or Workday or something like that, often they're paying a lot of cash for a platform that can expand to all sorts of dimensions, but they don't need to be paying all of that cash to get the same sort of governance audit. Probably all the reasons why they bought the Workday in the first case can
Yeah.
be delivered for you with a modern reimagining of the solution.
Yeah. And when you talk about is that what they call the clock in time and attendance?
Right.
Is that
Yeah.
that area?
Yeah.
So any kind of hourly workforce, a frontline workforce is an area you guys seem to have a lot of luck with too.
Yeah. We've been implementing solutions for telecom providers in that area. We've done some work for some local airports. We've done work for some hotel systems, those types of organizations.
Oh, awesome. And where's your client base there? Are you mostly selling in US or do you guys have customers globally at this point?
Uh, we have customers globally and we're starting to pick up customers in the US now. I'm British, Naidu and Kavitha come from India. And so you've got lots of connections elsewhere where we've been able to build and implement our solutions today.
Oh, wow. And Mike, are you in Seattle or are you in England?
No, I'm in Seattle. Yeah.
They do. So what else would you want a CHRO or a CIO to know about you guys and why you guys got into business? What's the thing that turns you on, that keeps you going? Because I know being a CEO, having done it 3 times, it's a lonely space. Hence why the two of us are in a group of lonely CEOs, right? So what's the thing that turns you on in the business, like the results that you see that gets the rest of the team excited too?
So, Jonathan, thanks for the question, right? So, the way I look at it is, right, the CHROs, typically the business people, and they have to go work with the whole IT guys to get something out of their existing tool set, right? And as much as we talked, HR may not be getting enough attention. At the end of the day, business being in business means it's actually people who are driving the business and the value and revenues and everything, right? CHROs and COOs, they need to have a visibility of the people efficiencies, people operations, and really setting up for the success of individuals as well as the business together, right?
Yeah.
Now, how do you actually measure what are the metrics that are applicable, and how do you actually get out of the existing tools and the existing data? For example, one of the use cases that we have implemented is looking at the payroll data, right? And all the demographics and parameters, you can actually derive the whole explanation of your workforce expenses and how things are moving, how many people are leaving, how many people are joining, and specific location, specific business function, specific vertical, whatever you name it. It's all there, right? It's customizable and really, really at the fingertips, as opposed to going and working with an IT team, maybe bringing a consultants, paying a lot of money, making it work. You don't have to, right?
Yeah.
And so that's how I see. And in terms of what I would say is pick a problem. I mean, so if somebody says, I don't have any problems, they're probably living kind of disconnected from the reality, right? So there are always problems, and they're probably trying to catch up with the AI, and they have a cost structure that are being challenged. And look at all these things and say, what can I do? And where can I start some things that will actually innovate, be modern, agile, adaptable, flexible, right? And really helps you the change management as the business evolves and grows. And that's the type of platform like Ciphus platform will fit to your needs as opposed to force fitting you into a platform.
Yep. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I'm so heavy in the cloud now. Like, I'm jumping on a call with one of my clients, and we just took all their data over the last like 6 years as a client, and just in 5 minutes came out with some incredible insights that we're going to go talk. And it's amazing, but you still have to know where the data is. Like, we know where the data is because it's out of our database. But everyone has been over the last, say, probably 2 decades, been using like business insights, which are these terribly looking graphs that really just show the numbers in a pretty picture, but the insights are garbage and they're not real time and that's why nobody reads the report, because it's like, oh, well, that's great, but it really doesn't actually tell me. Like, in recruiting, one of the things is you need to know, like, if you're going to say hospitality is one area and hotels and things like that, if you can tell your time and the number of hours and billable individuals that are working, and you can compare that to the occupancy of the hotel on a day-by-day basis over the last 5 years, you're still going to have some ups and downs because of COVID, certain holidays, emergencies and things. But if you look at that, you can predict pretty reliably what your staffing needs to be next week and next in 6 months, and when those things need to happen. And if you can do that, you can then work with your talent acquisition team to say, okay, we know we need to have 7 people fully trained started on July 1st for the summer for 8 weeks in this location. And we've got 20 hotels. Where do we need? You can start predicting that stuff 6 months in advance if you have the tools, and the tools we were using before just didn't really do it.
Absolutely.
And that's the difference of, as you say, oh, you don't know what you need. It's maybe you just didn't know what question to ask of your data.
Yeah. So imagine having all of that without having to output it from your systems, but you can just ask the questions. It doesn't matter whether they expand boundaries, of one SaaS application to another. It's just data that's in a data lake that allows you to act as if you're using Claude within the rules of the road within your organization, the roles, the level of access you have to data and all of that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Well, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. Naidu and Mike, how should anyone reach out to you guys? And we'll put the website on there, but if they wanted to reach out to you on LinkedIn or reach out for sales or even just talk about what you guys are up to.
Well, I'm Mike Hayes, Seattle. You'll find me there, but it's just Mike A for me.
All right.
Jonathan, yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. I regularly check and get connected, and definitely references are the best way to get, and warm introductions are the best way. And we have our website and a contact form. We diligently look at them, respond to them as well. And yeah, worst case, we really look at the incoming contact requests, info@ciphus.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. We'll
Jonathan.
wrap this up show.
Good chatting.
Excellent.
Thanks for spending your time here with GoHire Talks and listening to our guests. My intention has always been to create incredible content to help you in your career in recruiting, marketing, business, and leadership. We appreciate all of the insights and feedback you provide. If you've got guests you'd like us to have on the show, please let us know. Again, thank you for all your support.